Doctor, it's great to see you. Welcome back to Bloomberg. We've got lots of questions for you, and I know that you and I talked about this very thing, as I mentioned in the outset of this conflict. Now that we struck some targets on Kharg Island, what would be involved in seizing it?
This actually would be a lot easier than it would have been back in February or March. There was a heavy series of strikes. About 90 targets were hit. They hit some military facilities, obviously left all the oil infrastructure alone. Back in March, it was hit again in April. But I've got to tell you, from a pure tactical perspective, this is very doable for the forces that Central Command has in the region. We've got the USS Tripoli, which is a helicopter carrier with 2,000 Marines embarked, a lot of Army forces also up there in Kuwait and throughout the theater. So, you do the standard procedure. You put the air power over top of it, constant close air support, and then a possibility air assault. There's even a small runway already on Kharg Island.
Fascinating. Seizing it is one thing, holding it is another. Rebecca Grant, would we need a no-fly zone, or do we already have the assets in place for force protection if we had men and women on Kharg Island?
Exactly. Force protection is at the top of the list. We already kind of have a no-fly zone. We have air dominance over that region. And the fact that President Trump is speculating about this reconfirms to me that he has looked at plans for Kharg Island. They've probably been working on these for months and refining them. Force protection, that's going to come down to counter-drone, counter-UAS, and counter-missile systems. But if you think about it, it's not unlike defending an airbase in a forward area, or like in Afghanistan when we would send forces forward at a forward arming and refueling point and know we needed to defend that perimeter and that airspace. It's not unlike defending Guam, for example. So this is something that the Army and the Air Force and Navy as well together are very, very capable of doing. I think they can button up the airspace over Kharg Island. The president will have been briefed on the prospect of casualties, whatever that may be, we don't know. But this is something that can definitely be done, and you don't need a big occupying force on Kharg Island. We hold all the approaches to it. We don't need to put a lot of American ground forces in there once we have it.
Really, it's interesting to hear you describe it like this, because so many have gone out of their way to talk about what a high-risk operation this would be for our military. But I'm curious, you mentioned drones, and we saw the use of an autonomous ship, that Corsair, that picked up the 2 downed Apache crew members earlier this week. To what extent, if any, could we rely on automated technology, drones, and the like to do some of the job that men and women might normally do?
Yes, well, that pickup was amazing. And remember, Admiral Brad Cooper, who's the commander of U.S. Central Command, his previous job, he was in charge of all the Navy unmanned surface vessel experimentation in the Gulf, Task Force 59. He is an expert in all of these things. So what we're seeing is a lot of manned, unmanned teaming between systems across all the services. And yes, we will do that. Now, to actually take Kharg Island, that is going to involve U.S. Soldiers, Marines, Special Forces going in there to do that. Because I think what Trump would want is to leave the oil facilities running and simply take that over. There is definitely risk in this operation, but tactically, it is doable.
A higher risk operation might be unearthing the highly enriched uranium that we've spent so much time talking about. The president calls it the nuclear dust. That would be more men material and would take a longer period of time, right, to actually excavate and remove that material. Have we been refining plans to do that as well?
Oh, probably. They haven't showed them to me. But it's the same concept that with the amount of air dominance we have, you air assault forces establish a perimeter, defend that perimeter. And because Iran's drone and missile capabilities have been so beaten down, we've got a good chance of doing this. And remember, we've got forces that were very experienced with operations in Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and they know how to defend a perimeter and defend a site like that. So it's not no risk. It does take time, but that basic concept of air assaulting into an area and holding it and getting a job done, whether it's taking out nuclear dust or seizing the oil pumping facilities, that is something our military is trained and ready to do.
Really interesting. President talked quite a bit yesterday about next steps, knowing that he is still, of course, trying to pursue a diplomatic track here. But it sure looks like military activity is more likely. When he talks about hitting them even harder tonight, Rebecca Grant, are we talking about water facilities, power plants? What actually makes a dent for this regime?
It is possible to put some of those legitimate military infrastructure targets on the list. When he talks about hitting harder, my mind immediately goes to strikes from our bombers, our B-1s, B-52s, B-2s as well, that carry the heavier ordnance. Also our F-15Es and our F-16s, F-35s that carry heavier ordnance. We did Tomahawk strikes just recently. Great weapon, but it's a relatively smaller warhead. I think he's talking about taking out some more of the industrial targets. Anything where Iran was trying to sweep up the dust and get back in business, he may have on his strike list.
Yeah. Nobody embraces the quality of our exquisite weapons quite the way Dr. Rebecca Grant does. You know, somebody mentioned on the program yesterday, when the president talked about the actual ships and oil that we've been sneaking through at night for some time now, he said 100 million barrels, and Iran just found out about it. Is that because of that Apache that went down? Was that Apache helping to provide protection for ships going through the strait, do we think?
We know that the Apaches have been driving off IRGC small boats and doing counter-drone kills for about a month. So they haven't said anything official, but I believe, yes, that Apache was creating safer conditions across the Strait of Hormuz. It's an incredibly capable platform with a lot of new upgrades. And I think the Iranians had that drone up there, you know, and I suspect the Apache crew may have been trying to shoot it down as well. Yes, and the Apaches, they're up there right now working in that area, of course.
Is the drone threat still the most serious to our aircraft and boats?
The drone threat is still there. I would say it's a challenging threat, but one where we have a lot of overmatch. There's also a missile threat too. You know, Iran is still able to shoot here and there. It is not enough to dislodge either our great U.S. Navy blockade, of course, our two carriers, or to really threaten our land-based air. So we still have the freedom of action and all the overwhelming advantage. But yes, we're trying to get after the remnants of that drone and missile threat.
Really interesting. It's always great to spend some time with you. Dr. Rebecca Grant, famously at the Lexington Institute. This is basically, think of this as your intelligence briefing like the president would get in the morning. Doctor, thank you